few things. Okay, admin team meeting, February 23, 9:08. We are talking about the constitution bylaws and the recommendation of Attorney Park. All right. And we will begin with, are everyone okay looking at the transcript summary? Are we all there?
I'm not. I haven't
Okay.
seen that yet.
In your chat room, here in this Zoom.
Oh, in here. Sorry, I was looking in the text
No, you
text
good.
tree.
Uh-huh.
Gotcha.
Go ahead and open that. And we can start with that and then if we need to look over
Uh,
some of the video clips, Notebook LM
mhm.
has
I,
footnotes of it, so we'll be able.
because I was late joining, I can't see the things that you
Oh,
shared previously. I apologize. No, it's
no,
my
not
No,
a
he
fault.
has it
problem.
in the chat.
I
It's in the
know,
chat.
I know, but I joined the chat after he loaded it up.
Oh,
So
you don't have
Zoom
it?
Zoom
Ah,
won't retro pick up previous chat. So
It's weird.
now I see it. So that's
well, something to tell Zoom.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know
I
why you
got the
can't.
transcript. Yeah, I got the transcript now. Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. If you have it open in front of you, let me just read through. Attorney Robert Park. Thanks, Pastor Bong. I appreciate everyone taking the time, etc., etc. I'll start with paragraph number 2 with the proposed constitution. For nonprofit corporation, the state of Hawaii constitutions are not actually required as a corporate document, but they are very useful for a North Star. Okay. And then on that second sentence of second paragraph regarding Article 4 and others, you can fairly liberal with the content as a religious nonprofit. It is perfectly fine to have language regarding the Baptist faith and general ways to conduct meetings. However, on page 2, the third paragraph, where the Constitution discusses the annual meeting, leadership, and officers, it requires some cleaning up. The bylaws are the controlling legal document for how OBN should operate from a nonprofit perspective. My recommendation is that Article 7 through 13 of the Constitution must be made strictly consistent with the bylaws. Moving to moving to the proposed bylaws, I have a few recommendations. Number one, membership. I recommend that membership consists of representatives of the churches rather than the churches as organizations. This is cleaner from a voting perspective because representatives are the ones actually casting votes. Messengers. While you can have messengers, they are not strictly necessary from a legal perspective. I would shy away from giving messengers an operative legal role in the organization. Board of directors. Hawaii law requires all nonprofits to have a board of directors. Currently, your document refers to the OBN leadership team, but I recommend you call them directors to be consistent with legal requirements. Officer titles. That place the state typically looks for president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. You can still use your traditional titles by putting them in parentheses, such as president, open and close moderator, etc., etc. One thing that catches my attention too is if we have a network facilitator, they can be called president, open and close facilitator. I've also provided a standard draft to use for
And
nonprofit.
we,
Go ahead.
Esther, rather than just, I mean,
Sure.
rather than just read through it, can we just go point by point?
Yeah, we could now.
Because
Let's go
otherwise,
with.
we're going to just read through the whole thing and then we're going to go back through it again.
All
So,
right. All
and I
right. Let's
think
go for the
sometimes as
first
we're
one.
discussing it, we might actually come up with some general guiding principles that helps us not have to discuss the other things.
Wonderful. All right. Let's take the first one. Can we take the membership? That's the first point.
Yes.
Good. Uh, Membership. I recommend that membership consists of representatives of the churches rather than churches as organizations. Okay, your
So,
thoughts.
so a couple of things. What I'm, first of all, I don't think we can change this. This is part of our Baptist polity. This is who we are. We can't
Mhm.
change this. Now, the other thing, and I don't know why this guy wasn't like apprised of that. Like, if HBBC's been using him, I don't know why he's not aware of Baptist polity if he's reviewing a document about Baptist polity, but nevertheless. Um, and then the second thing is, I don't remember like our OBN, are we under HBBC's nonprofit? Do we share their number? Does anybody know the answer to that question?
I believe the answer is no. We have our own 501c3 number. Our federal employee ID number is unique from the convention.
Yeah, because I know like all of our churches don't have a unique number. We all share the same number under HBBC.
Oh, well, let's look at that.
I just
Yeah.
don't know about OBN because if that were the case, then some of this is kind of moot because we're not actually
Right.
we're not the board. We don't
Right.
have to be the board because the executive committee is the actual nonprofit or the board for the nonprofit.
Which also raises an interesting question about what should be, and again, when I say should, we should be able to have some kind of biblical theme or even specific reference to explain what we believe and what we do.
Right,
What should be the relationship between churches and the association of churches therein, and then associations and the state convention therein? Um, because if we exist under the umbrella of HPBC, then that would imply there's some external control or influence, regardless of our language to about our own independence and our own finances and all that. What if HPBC one day were to say we no longer recognize OBN as, one of our affiliated, expressions of our 501(c)(ness?
right.
Yeah. And and does that affect also the autonomy of every organization?
Oh, good
I
question.
don't know. I don't think it does. I think it's, I mean, obviously we could apply for our own if we wanted to, but I think this just makes it easier for everybody. But um, yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, the same.
I'm just asking the internet.
Okay. And I'll go ahead and send a message to Monica to confirm our. I sent a request
Hey,
from the
Alan.
I sent the request from the IRS to give us a letter of exempt, meaning a letter to forward to us because we are under their list. So that's number one, and that we're waiting on that. And number two, I will check with Monica Kang as to the nature of the numbers. If we are identical, then that's what you are saying.
So just a quick internet search does suggest that most associations across the convention of any size, which I think would include us, typically are organized as independent 501(c)(3) organizations, not as, under the umbrella or inside a higher body like the state convention. So it certainly seems to have precedent. And again, it means we'd have to file our own. It's going to require more expense because we have to file our own Form 990s or whatever we do tax wise, and then we clearly have to have documents to explain our board or our trustees. Um, so that's an interesting question right there.
Okay. Well, let's keep that in mind because if that in itself is a core value, then the next question would be really okay. I understand the conversation here on Article 3 composition of not changing them. His argument is for the cleaner voting perspective.
Mm.
Uh, would Article 3 can be added, as he was saying that it's the representative of these churches that will be voting. Is that a statement that could be added in Article 3 as opposed to just saying that the member churches are members, but the representatives will serve as a voting member?
I think, again, to Matt's point, this is something that's been, deeply, deeply established for, who knows, maybe coming
Yeah.
up near 200 years,
Mhm.
where the messengers do actually take, legal owner. It's not so much ownership, but they do take the authority based on their votes at the called meetings. So I know, let me look at the language again. I know he's saying um, that messengers don't have an operative legal role, but I think they do.
Mm.
Um, so, uh, you know,
Yeah.
so maybe, again, he's not saying that's a legal requirement. He's just saying that it's to his preference that we have different language there.
Okay.
Maybe a sentence could be something like, at the end of Article 3, it could say, said member churches shall be represented at all annual and special called meetings by the messengers they select according to their church process or something. So then it adds that layer of the church is not showing up to vote, but the messengers that the church sends um, carry that authority. But again, part of the problem, or not problem, and
Yeah.
I've run into this with people at our church. Some people said to me, you should explain to us everything that OBN is going to be dealing with, and then let us as a church pick the people that are going to vote the way we want you to vote on that. And that's not how it works. The church, the church picks messengers, and each messenger is free to vote, whether it's OBN or HBBC or SBC National. They vote according to their conviction and conscience, not according to the dictate of their church says you will vote like this. So that's
I got
something
you.
we don't want to capture that
Yeah.
messengers come together to express the will of the churches. The messengers are entrusted by the churches, and then they make their choices, or they participate according to their convictions. I think that's correct, but
Mm. Well, thanks for bringing that up. I've heard of that conundrum, but not recently. Okay. All right. If membership to us within our team is not we can look at it in the preface that we do not have any problem seeing this issue on Article 3. Then we just have to explain it the way we explain it right now. Um, Sorry, anybody asked the question as to why that clause is not there, but a possibility would be, Pastor Jamie, is to add that statement that you said.
yeah.
Okay.
Shall I try to write it down?
Okay.
Okay, give me a second. I'll work on that. Hold on.
If it helps any, Jamie, I had said member churches will be represented by the messengers sent by the churches. That's basically what I got from you.
Thank you. Churches.
So we're still on membership, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So I think I understood we are not going to change that it is the churches that are the members.
Yeah.
That's
The only,
correct.
the only thing that I was suggesting, because again, if you're not a if you're not a Southern Baptist, then you might be like, wait, the whole church shows up, and so maybe something like as another sentence, the churches of OBN will be represented at regular and special called meetings by those representatives that the churches select according to their own internal process and the conditions laid out in this constitution. Or again, the conditions being member churches in good standing in the HBBC and who have entered a covenant with OBN churches. I'll just say constitution and the accompanying bylaws because that's the phrase.
Yeah, to me, like whatever the wording is, I think our process is we just got to make sure, like, I think we've assumed a lot of stuff. So we just got to make sure that what we understand, because I think we understand our process and we think it's right. Like we think that it is the churches that are members, but when we think of churches, we don't think of organizations. We think of the people in the churches. So we're
Right.
not thinking about it from legal standpoint. So then the messengers then are the representatives. So they are representing the church. They are elected by the church according to the church's whatever procedures, but they are limited by us. Like we limit how many representatives can come
Yeah.
together. So as long
Yeah.
as we're clear about that, then I I don't see any, I don't see any other reason. I can see what he's saying. Like if the organizations were the members and it's like, well, who's representing? But we're saying who's representing by the messenger. So I'm okay with that.
I put the sentence in the chat box. Just is it okay to add that, or is it really? Are we just not? Are we just we're just going around a problem that really doesn't exist internal to us?
Mm.
Because if it's not helpful or necessary, then we don't want to add. We don't want to add more words. That would be bad.
Yeah, I would keep it, and then once we see it in the whole package, we can be like, oh, this is a necessary redundancy, or this is not, right?
Yep. All right. Sounds good.
And I think that makes the second point messengers. I don't think we even need to discuss that because that's the whole basis of our governmental model.
Yeah.
So I don't, it's like, yeah, I would shy away from it too, but it's what we do.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it certainly is a comment from someone who doesn't understand the filters that we have. And
Well, and I think too, like we know like that process is not great. We know this messenger process is not the most efficient way to do things, but we believe it, and it's part of our theology that God works through the people. The Holy Spirit speaks through the people. That's basic to Baptist, theology. And if that's the case, well, we're not going to change that, even if sometimes the people drive us nuts. So
Hi. Okay, let's move on to board of directors. Board of directors.
So did we resolve whether we're our own separate nonprofit entity or not?
No, not yet.
We have to make a research, Matt. I will. There are two places that we've actually.
Let me just call Monica real quick. So
Oh
we
yeah.
can.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you call her?
No, negative. I just put it on
Oh,
my list.
no,
But
no. Let's just
yeah,
call her because we're kind of having this conversation right now. So
sure.
who's
And
The
your
other
second?
way I would deal with it, and while Jamie's calling, is
Mhm.
if whether it is or not, we could also put the OBN leadership team, which shall function as the board of directors. Like you could say that, but we're really, yeah, unless we have a subset of like at the church, you might have a board of directors, right? but the
Mhm.
board of directors don't have any, they only have the authority you give them. And I know at Jamie's church, they have more authority than at our church. Like at our church, they don't have, they basically, they are able to enact whatever the church decides, but they cannot act unilaterally. So if there's a requirement, then we could add that statement in there. The OBN
Yeah.
leadership team.
Yeah, I think whatever the legal language we're looking for is, our team, will serve for legal purposes the function of the board of
Board of
directors.
directors,
Trustees,
yeah.
whatever.
So either way, I think we can add that.
That's good.
Hey, it's Jamie again. Is Monica around?
Bong,
Yeah.
did you say that
All right, Jamie.
OBN has its
No,
own FEIN number?
We just wanted to get
Well,
a
let's
quick
me just clarify that
question
we
is,
have an employee, a federal employee, but the
do
question
the
now is
associations
that the
across the
same
state
as
do OPM
that's what we're
do
trying to figure out now.
separate
Or and the
501c
501c3
under the
is
convention
the next
umbrella
question
as
is
a
the
501?
501c3 the same as the employee ID number, which I don't think it is. So
That was my impression, but okay, if you could,
so right now, I don't have a number for 501c3. I requested the IRS for a letter of affirmation. Until then,
Okay.
we can just ask Monica. Okay, Pastor Jamie, unmute your microphone.
I didn't get Monica. I got Robert Miller. He left a note for Monica asking her to call me within the next hour. And he said he believes that we are all under convention, not a separate entity.
Okay.
And that would line up with, like even Olivet is not its own entity.
Right.
We're under convention. And so that's a real question. Should we? Should we be?
I think the only one that's maybe not is HBA.
Mm,
It might
yeah,
not be.
sure.
I think the foundation, I'd have to go check our numbers to see if they're the same. Because we did incorporate, we do have articles of incorporation.
All right. That's a very good question because Faith has been asking for a proof of our nonprofit, and I was just gonna say we filed a letter of confirmation from the IRS to send us our status as a 501c3.
So if we are under HPBC, then what all we need when we need that information is we use for our church, we would just request the HPBC staff to send a letter and say, Wildlife Baptist Church is under our corporation, blah blah blah, under this number, and then we could use it for whatever. So I'm sure we could do the same thing for OBN.
Perfect letter of recommendation.
And then you don't have to even go to the
Yeah.
IRS. I mean, yeah, whoever
Yeah.
you want.
Okay. Board of directors. The question is, do we need to still clarify that or not? To us, that's pretty basic. We understand our roles and everything. The question now that comes is, do we even put the word board of directors, open and close parenthesis, OBN leadership team, or we can keep it as is?
I mean, I think it's just a simple statement because we're not required to have a board of directors. And I don't think. I mean, Stacy's not here. I could ask her. But even if we were, then I think just to be safe, we can, like Jamie used the wording, this team will function as the board of directors.
Got it.
I forget, he said something.
Yeah.
He said it
So,
better than that. It made me cry. It was so beautiful. So, anyways, I think it's worth putting it in, just in case there's no ambiguity. And then again, if we find out we don't need it, we can always take it out. But even though churches, like we have a board,
Mhm.
so I'm pretty sure, as a matter of fact, now that I think about it, I think we do need to put it in because even though churches are the um, under the HPVCs, that we still are required to have a board of trustees, and we're still required to have officers. So,
how about this? Something like the OBN leadership team shall fulfill all the requirements of Hawaii state law regarding the board of directors for nonprofit organizations.
yeah, that's fine.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll stick that sentence in the chat.
So the next point, which already Matt alluded to, is the use of the word vice president, president, and secretary in the language.
I think so. This is where legal meets public perception. All right. And by public, I mean other Baptists. So when we add titles like these, people like get freaked out, like, oh, look, the moderators, he's become the president, and or whatever. It's a power grab and things like that. Um, Nobody thinks that about the secretary because nobody wants to do that job. But except for Charlene, thank you. But they, so like what we did at our church for our bylaws, we're required to have the board. So we have the board and we're required to have officers. So we have the minimal number of officers, we have the minimal number of boards, but we make it very clear that the board can only function on behalf of the church at the church's direction. So the board cannot independently do anything. The board doesn't have any other authority.
Mm.
And so once we establish that, the big question among some of our people, which is what happens when you're in a white collar area, is they're concerned about if they get sued because they're the legal representatives, right? Are they somehow covered by, insurance? Can they be personally sued? So then we put in our bylaws that the pastor is the president because it doesn't add any authority and he's assuming all the liability, right? He's assuming but he's also has responsibilities. So we made it so that the officers were all part of the leadership because they have it doesn't give them any more authority. It does expose them to liability, but they also they're the ones most responsible for not doing stuff that would get them in trouble. So basically, that's what we did, but we explained it very carefully to everybody so they understood, like, oh, by the pastor becoming president doesn't mean he's doubling his power because the president in our church has no power. But if you don't explain that really carefully and people think like, oh, the moderators become the president. So the workarounds are similar language to what Jamie's already proposed for board of directors, is to use language like, for the purposes of nonprofit, blah, 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 the moderator shall be the president. And if we want to really feel the need to specify, we can put other things on there, but that's one of the reasons if you made the board of directors a subset of the lead team, then you could do the same thing. You could say they will be the legal representatives and usually in a good world, it only comes up like if we were to buy or sell property, something like that. In a bad world, it's if we got sued, or, something like that, right? So, but they become the legal representatives, but we can add similar language that says that they act on, they can legally represent under the direction of the rest of the lead team or whatever. Like that's what you could do. That way there is no, and I can't remember our language because I think we might already say that about the lead team when we say like when OBN's not in session, that they give the lead team the authority to act on behalf. So we might not need to do it if that's the case. That makes sense?
Yeah, the implication of that, yes.
Let me see if I can find our language. I'll post it if I can.
Can you put a link to the clean draft copy that we had that Mr. Park reviewed? My
Sure.
copy is all, because it's maybe from my computer, it's all like got markups and stuff.
Okay.
You mean the one without all the swearing in it, Jamie?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Bylaws. OBN.
Just for while you're doing that, Bong, since I sort of disrupted the flow of the conversation, I did reach out to Craig this morning, and I just asked, because the draft that we chose to bring forward removed the language calling for the Baptist Faith and Message 2000, and it implied, or it said, that we're going to wait on the outcome of the HPBC's Constitution and Bylaws review. So I asked Craig, like, well, we decided we'd wait on you, and is there any updates? And he said that they have also, and it's coming from Shane Tanigawa, Pastor Shane as well. They've also done a legal review, and there's a number of areas where their constitution and bylaws are obsolete or need to be tweaked, in similar ways that we're going over and looking for it. But that there's no timeline for when they would actually have a full document that's been considered and ready to bring back to the Convention of Churches. So.
Book of reports. Yeah.
Well, I do think a lot of how the final, we're not going to be able to hash out a final document right now, because a lot of it is going to determine on whether or not, and I think we're not a separate, thank you, Bon, that we're not a separate 501c3. And then, so the real question this is our chance to get it right, is do we want to become a separate 501c3? And then we could put forward a number of biblical and organizational, and this is what many associations are doing as common practice, arguments as to why we should or should not take such a step.
I'm going to put in the chat the language we use in our current bylaws. I think this is the most recent. It's really long, but
the statement you made Matt, about but for the purposes of
Right.
seem like very, very friendly, non-threatening. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see, like, if you look in the chat at ours, it limits the power of the board of directors. It meets the state standard, but it limits the power. That's why it says any two of the directors shall have the power to buy, sell, mortgage, lease, or transfer church property with the approval of the church.
Mm.
We also say that we will indemnify the directors
Yeah.
for personal liability. So you can read down. And then if you look, the number of members, we limit it to 3. And one director shall be the moderator, one director shall be the church treasurer, and the third director shall be nominated by the nominee. Actually, so this is the board of directors. But then if you go down to officers, actually we changed this where it says the president is the pastor. I have to go find where that language is.
Matt, is that a shared document?
Yeah, I'm not seeing that document.
I stuck it in the chat.
No,
You know why?
not
Like
my
an
chat.
idiot. I didn't post it. I copied it in there, but then I didn't send it. There you go.
I have done that. I have crafted beautiful emails and then forgotten to hit send.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I have to find the language. This is not I don't think this is our latest, but
Matt,
that's
I still
gives you
don't
the
have
idea.
it.
Yeah, still not showing up.
Oh, I hit send. Why are you not sending, bro? Hold on. Oh, maybe I hit the wrong. Oh, you know why? I went over the word limit. Let me cut out some of the words.
But yeah, I think to your point, Matt, we can wherever we need to, and there are some required things. And again, there's different requirements if we are a separate 501(c). Like for instance, if we end up as a separate organization, according to one search that I did, we have to have a statement about conflict of interest because that's required by law. So again,
Right.
it has to be an article that says, in full compliance with current local law for 501(c) organizations, we hereby declare the following conflict of interest policy, which requires that our OBN leadership team, that is the board of directors for legal purposes, shall not, participate in any kind of self-dealing, which blah, 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 blah,
Right.
But that phrase, for the purposes of legal compliance, and then we explain how what we mean or what we say or the titles we use fulfills these requirements in these ways. Thank you so much.
Right.
Yeah, we can do that.
Sorry, I finally posted it.
This is for the board of directors, Matt?
So that's for the board of directors.
Okay.
So that's what we have. And this is all that they do.
Yeah, the indemnification there shall not be held personally responsible. That's important.
Right.
Yeah, with the approval of the church. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all that they do. And that's how
Yeah.
And so by doing that, the officers, prior to me coming here, the president and the moderator had a lot of power in the church. And so, when everybody's working and happy and working with the pastor and the pastor's working with them, it's a great shared responsibility. But when it's not, then it's not.
Yeah. We've got the same language, and it specifically says the trustees shall have a president, the officers of the trustees shall be president, vice president, secretary. With the approval of the church, the trustees shall have the power to buy, sell, mortgage, lease, or transfer property.
Yeah.
They shall oversee the risk, and the trustees shall fulfill the statute requirement for directors, and such directors shall have the duties of the trustees as provided in the bylaws. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about indemnification, but it does check those other boxes. All right.
So anyways, that I don't think we have to have that exact language I have,
Mm.
but I think we need to have something like if we're going to adopt the titles of, pastor, president, and blah blah blah, just so that people don't think like we're somehow changing the structure of our.
It's it's like a Rosetta Stone where we're just providing an interpretive, footnote or paragraph so that the legal people can find what they're looking for, and all of our churches and messengers will see like, oh, okay, now we see it's just checking boxes, but it makes us legal and protects in appropriate ways, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Well, you need that because you know, pastors would love to send us letters again.
Yeah, they do. Um,
This time we're gonna send it to Matt.
Yeah, right ahead. I don't care.
Right.
Um, Actually, so this was an earlier draft. The the later draft, this is what it says. It has that same first statement, represents the corporate body, blah, blah, blah. With approval of the church, any two of the directors shall have the power. And then it says this is the very next sentence. This board has no additional responsibilities or authorization unless directed by the church body. So we're very explicit about it.
yeah.
So we didn't, and then it says composition and selection. The senior pastor and two other members of the lead team will serve on this board. If there are not enough lead team members to complete the board, the moderator and the treasurer will complete the board. And their membership on the board will coincide with their term as moderator or treasurer. And then the officers are the president, the director, who is also the senior pastor, vice president, a lead team member, or if there are not enough lead team members to complete the board, the director is also the moderator, and then secretary treasurer, a lead team member, or if there are not enough lead team members to complete the board, the director is also the treasurer. So, and we don't have term limits because obviously the limits are there. But anyways, that's the language.
Mm.
And we're very explicit so that if anybody asks, like, oh, is this a power grab? It's like, clearly it's not, you
Yeah.
know? And frankly, if somebody said, I don't like this, like, so you want to be president? Do you want to accept all the financial, legal responsibilities for an organization you have no say over? Is that what you want? Like, probably not. Ugh. So we're gonna move on.
Yes. All right. So, Pastor Jimmy, you have on the officer titles. We
Oh,
did capture the idea that for the purposes of, and
oh,
then
hold on. No, I didn't write that down. I was just sort of,
okay,
saying, we can follow the same pattern somewhere in in our current draft. Let's
right.
see. That's basically still the part about the the board of directors. So I guess
Mhm.
it's OBN leadership team, the OBN leadership team, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so sort of uh, for the purpose of fulfilling, local requirements, the, because again, our officers are,
I see.
again, and we're a little confused because we have facilitator, moderator, vice moderator, clerk, treasurer. And remember, we did have some conversation about is moderator a separate office or does it always lie with the facilitator? That would be something to clarify.
So in our now you're looking at our document, right?
No, I'm back to OBN Constitution.
Oh, let me go see. Sorry,
Because the facilitator is under staff in the bylaws, but in the officers, it just says moderator, vice moderator, clerk, treasurer.
And there's no staff or
It
there's no
doesn't say anything about
facilitator.
facilitator.
yeah. So this is I don't know if we so this was what I thought would be the most controversial thing until, other than the Baptist faith and message, right? So this is what I thought would be it. And frankly, I don't know if anybody's raised a question about it, but um but I think like even though we understand our Baptist polity and that's great, I think this other thing about having the board of directors that's kind of like the boss of the pastor. Like most of us don't believe that's actually a biblical model, and I don't think we should have it at the
All right.
associational level.
I got to step out for 3 minutes to
Okay.
take a call. I'll be right back. Sorry.
So in short, this is a bringing together of where the facility, if once we decide we need a facilitator, the facilitator would function as the moderator. We may never decide we need a facilitator. We may be like, never have a facilitator. But once we do, that person becomes the moderator. They becomes the leader of the lead team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a better model personally, because, what happens at the HPBC level is, you know, Brian was president for 2 years. He has his ideas. He has things that he thinks, Craig is working with him. He may develop a good relationship with him. He may develop not a good relationship with him. And then after 2 years, Brian's gone. He's back focusing on his church. And now Shane is there. And now they gotta, and Shane is the president of the executive committee, and the executive committee is essentially the boss of the executive director. They review what he does, they can approve it, they can disapprove, whatever. So
Yes, and we have that language in Article 6.
right, and that's the big question. Like, do we want to if that's what we want to do? Because I'm proposing it. Somebody may some point in time make an argument and tell me why it's a terrible idea, and I'll be like, okay, I'll listen. Right now, I don't know that. I just know what we do is not great. It leads to um, if you don't have strong personalities on either side, it leads to people just being more passive. Like the executive director's like, oh, I don't want to act without the president, and the president's like, oh, I'm not going to tell the executive director what to do, and then 2 years pass, nothing gets done, right?
Yeah.
And that's the history of Hawaii Pacific Baptist. And I just don't want it to be OBN's history. Like we don't want to be like, and right now it's not a problem because we don't have a facilitator.
And I think Attorney Park did see that. That's why one of his suggestion was a somewhere in that statement would be a president moderator and a president facilitator. Somewhere in the language there will be if
No, I think what he's suggesting when he says officers' titles, I think he's suggesting make either the moderator or the facilitator the president, and that you clarify it by putting it in parentheses.
okay, there's an or rather than an and.
Right. So that's what I think, which would then mean like if we ever went to having a facilitator who then would be the moderator, he would also be the president, or she would also be the president. Right. So that would be it. But so for us, once we deal with okay, um so like the language we used in ours, to be really clear, is that we just said, we said the lead team member who is the moderator will also be the president. This can all be under the caveat, for the purposes of meeting the nonprofit, these titles are being assigned, and that they don't in any way add we can make a statement like they don't in any way add authority, etc. But we need the titles, right?
Yeah,
And
Charlene, you got that part. That's a good language there.
No, I don't have it.
Say that again. That last phrase you just said, that was very good. It's because it's all inclusive rather
right.
than
Well,
only
hopefully it's
all over
being
the place.
recorded, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Yes. So the idea is that somewhere in Article 8 or Article 9, where the definition for the purposes of that the word president shall be with the moderator.
So you just say the lead team
The
member
lead.
who is the president, or who is the moderator will be the president.
Gotcha.
And the lead team member who is the whatever else, or you can just say, and because to me too, like I don't want to like take time every 1 or 2 years to re-elect board members when we hardly ever use them, right? So to me, like you could say, do we have a vice chair this year?
Jamie.
Jamie.
Yeah, so you can say the vice chair, the lead team member who is the vice chair shall be the vice president, and the lead team member who is the recording secretary shall be, or treasurer. We don't have a treasurer, do we?
We do.
Okay,
Faith.
Faith, that's right, that's right. Shall be, and then that's it. Then we've dealt with it, and because we shouldn't be functioning over, like let's say something happened and somebody had to step down or whatever, we shouldn't be functioning without those three positions anyways.
Okay.
So anyways, Jamie, we just so the language that we're just proposing is similar to what you said, for the purposes of, complying with nonprofit, blah, blah, blah. The lead team member who is the moderator shall be the president, and the lead team member who is the vice moderator shall be the vice president, and the lead team member who is the treasurer shall be the treasurer. So
Great.
And I don't know if we're required to have anything else. If we're required to have, I think minimum is 3. You got to have 3.
Yeah. So I did just hear from I got a call from Monica.
Okay.
And she said that she thinks that we are under the convention, but then I just did a with the Hawaii.gov search, and we definitely have Oahu Baptist Network with a file number with the agent's name is Michael Abagon. The agent's address is 1775 South Britannia. So I don't know if I can see our tax filings, or no, I can't bring that up. That's private. It shows our officers are Vong, Faith, and Charlene. So that's agent, treasurer, and secretary. So we look like we're complying with all these things. That looks like we're registered, and there's even a file number. Registered April the 2nd, 1981.
Yeah, so but see, even your church has that. We have to fill that out every year as a church. But so there's 2 different things. There's the state and then there's the federal.
The federal. Okay, so that's
So we're all under the federal nonprofit, from what I understand.
All right, let me do a federal search, not a Hawaii search, just to satisfy my interest.
Yeah, no, actually, that will be your next point that Park raised, which is the IRS compliance. So his concern is if the IRS requests an audit will they see, other than the verbiage we just talked about, will they see as compliant with the 501c3?
Okay, so there is let's see, I've got a Olivet Baptist Church with an EIN number. No, it's not going to help me. Hold on. What does EIN stand for again?
Employee,
Identification.
Identification number.
I think it's employer, yeah.
But even that's not like necessarily proof that we're a separately registered
No.
501(c), right?
Well,
No,
the number that shows to may have clarified it,
Yeah.
and the number that shows is 99-600-8978.
And that's for OBN.
That's the OBN EIN number.
Because ours is 99-0079 and so on. So it's different than that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Ah, shucks.
And are we to assume that if we are the same, we would have the same EIN? Or is there another 501c3 number we're looking at?
I don't know.
Is the FEI number?
Okay, so there was no IRS results for Olivet Baptist Church in Honolulu, Hawaii. Let me try Oahu Baptist Network.
Okay. Well, I did say that the
Oh,
501c3 is the same as the EIN, that the IRS does not issue a separate 501c3 number.
yeah, so there's no Oahu Baptist Network in this search, this IRS search. So I'm doing Hawaii Pacific Baptist Convention now. And they come up as an organization in the IRS file. So that would suggest that we're all under convention, which then I think I think the real question that OBN leadership team needs to talk about at our next meeting is, shall we organize as our own 501(c) for both biblical and functional and common practice across Southern Baptist reasons?
Okay.
And then we also need to know what the, what are the costs, right? Yeah, what's it going to change? What's it going to cost us? What are the implications? What are the, kind of a pluses and minuses?
Yeah.
Or maybe the question is like, we really don't want to do it because the benefits or the reasons for it really don't have any, they don't carry enough benefit to make that change.
right.
So,
Correct.
and then I think that question is going to inform how we revise our constitution and bylaws, because if we're our own entity, then we have to make sure, like we've been talking about, complying. But if we're not our own entity, we're nothing. We don't have any legal standing to comply with anything, particularly.
Right. Although I think for state purposes, you still have to.
Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's the big difference.
All right. We'll we will continue to research. Right now, are we still, Monica will make research?
No, she
No?
said she thinks that we are not independent.
Okay.
And that she kind of said it would, she kind of, again, this is just off the cuff. This is not a
Yeah, yeah.
formal position of convention.
Um,
She was kind of like, you guys try to look for your 501(c) paperwork, which I've just done through searching federal database. Doesn't seem, we don't seem to be in their, on their list anywhere. Uh,
mhm.
so, um, yeah, that's an interesting question, Matt. I'm going to see if HBA is on here.
And Matt, the foundation is also under HVBC?
I don't know. I'd have to go check.
Okay. All right.
So I guess my point is that, yeah, HBA is, they have both HBA, Hawaii Baptist Academy, and then they also have HBA Alumni Association. Both of those are registered.
Mm, mm. Okay. All
Yeah, I'm
right.
doing a quick search for foundation, Matt.
That is a very good conversation to bring up. And that's probably one reason why we are delaying.
Yeah, no, I
At
think
least
this
have
is
a
really,
conversation. Yeah.
I think this is probably one of the most valuable things in my mind to have come up from this exploration.
Mhm.
There's no foundation, there's no Hawaii Baptist Foundation in the IRS system, at
Okay.
least according to the words I use. So my point is that I think we have other decisions to make before we can meaningfully figure out a finalized draft, which we would
Gotcha.
then bring to the churches, well, come through the leadership team and then communicate
Okay.
to the churches and so on.
Well, let's go over a few more of his points. I mean, of course, that's looming in our mind now, and maybe we can move it forward on our next report for the month of March meeting. And
Mhm.
Matt and Jamie, I ask that you take the lead on bringing up on the floor such a meat of that conversation.
So, which the argument for and against forming?
Maybe if we can evolve the narrative as to why that question is now, do we feel that we need to be a separate nonprofit as opposed to, again, the research has to be substantive. So I'm gonna, again, I filed for the IRS to give us a letter of confirmation. So Jamie, that should come to your office. But we've already asked Monica. You've the this admin team have already looked at the different portals, and everything seemed to be pointing as we have the same 501(c)(3) with the HPBC. So then on the next meeting, help us just evolve it to the question: do we need to, or do we not need to separate? On Do we need to file a separate 501(c)(3) or not, and what are the ramifications of that? Okay.
I'm, I mean, I'm happy to look into it. My sense right now, similar to the arguments that I made when we were discussing the Constitution bylaws previously, is that because the association between churches is a biblical, it's a thing, right? We can find churches in the Bible. We can find churches cooperating with each other in the Bible. And so unless my research finds otherwise, I'd be willing, again, I reserve the right to change my mind. But right now, my impression is that we should lean into the priority of the association because it is the thing that connects the churches. So I find myself more and more church centric and less institution interested. So I'd be willing to do some research and make that presentation. But if the research shows me that it's a bad idea, then I'll say I don't think we should do it.
Yeah, because I think I agree, by the way, with you, Jamie, but I think the argument you make for association having, being more independent, you would have to then say like, okay, every single church, because it would be the same argument that every church,
Uh,
unless if it's a biblical theological argument, if it's a pragmatic argument, we as an association might say it's more pragmatic for us, but it wouldn't be for churches. The benefit to the churches would not be as great as the benefit to the association. Therefore, but if we make it on biblical theological grounds, that's
I'm not saying that there's biblical content that absolutely
right.
requires this
No,
or that
yeah.
action.
I'm just
Mm.
saying, that if we do make a strong case for like, oh, the autonomy of the local church leads to the autonomy of the association, you know, makes that a priority up to the autonomy of the HVBC, up to
I,
the, if that's the case, and we
um,
make a biblical case for it, like I said, it goes, I just want us to be, again, I'm agreeing with you in a lot of ways. It's just, I just want to make sure that we know the river flows both ways, basically.
yeah, I don't see any downside to anything you just said. And
Well, yeah,
you know, and that might be the kind of thing that, again, because we do believe in the autonomy of the local church, we can't require that, but
Mm.
maybe that would be something that OBN offers some level of informed support. Any of our churches who want to consider this and explore how to do this, we'd be glad to assist you in that. And that
Mm.
would be, again, a nice
right.
thing that OBN could actually serve churches in.
Yeah, I don't know the history of why. I would need someone to give me the history of why each church doesn't have its own nonprofit status. I'm not sure what the history is. I'm not sure what the reasoning is. So that
Mm.
might be something that we look into first, because, you know, I mean, I'm pretty sure this is a very common SBC practice. And
Mm.
if it is, SBC, we're all about the autonomy of the local church. So they wouldn't necessarily see it as infringing on that. But I would love to know the rationale. I don't think it's unique to Hawaii. It might be, but I don't think it is. Um, but it's just like the language in a lot of our um, constitutions that say, should, the dissolution of the church, what happens to the property,
Right.
right? Almost all of them say the property will either go to HVBC or they'll go towards another church of,
Mm.
like faith under the direction of blah, blah, blah. So that part, I don't know.
And even more when OBN starts holding properties or
Right.
assets, then yeah.
It becomes, yeah, like right now we're living in a nice world where, you know, we don't have things to fight over. like, like not like in Texas, man, where they got,
Yeah.
millions and billions of dollars and, hundreds of millions of dollars and, you know,
Mm.
universities and, colleges and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think, again, I just did a little bit of searching for studies across the SBC to that
Mm.
question. And one of the quick answers pointed out that the IRS automatically assigns tax-free nonprofit status, whether you file anything or not. I mean,
Right.
obviously you have to file some stuff. And so many churches, have never gone to the trouble because they already have it.
Uh,
So there
I
could
don't
be
know
some.
why we have to go to HVBC when we like I forget what we needed it for. Um, I forget why we needed to confirm our nonprofit status. I can't remember, but
Mm.
yeah, I just can't off the top of my head remember why. But I knew that we had to go to them. So,
The,
anyways,
o- the only reference that I know that I make with HPBC is when the commission of doing weddings and stuff like that for the state.
yeah,
Like,
no, it
yeah.
wasn't that. It was something else where
Mm.
we had to get it confirmed. but I just can't remember what it was.
Well, the bank, for one, is asking, and that's the reason why we're all Faith is asking,
Uh,
where's the paper for the 501(c)(3)?
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we are right now.
Okay.
So it would still be under the HVBC, which then you just go and I think it must be Monica's job now. Just ask Monica to produce
For
a
a
letter
letter.
that says
Yeah.
OBN, it's a blah 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 blah. And then
Mm.
it's just a form letter. It doesn't even,
Yeah.
you know, every
And
time we ask for it, it's essentially the same thing with a different date. So,
gotcha. All right. Hey, great conversation. There are five other points that he makes on the second page. He talks about board structure, and it looked like we understand our context. What are your
yes.
thoughts on that?
Well, again, to me, the only two solutions for board structure is either have a subset of the board, the officers. Well, he's still thinking board of directors, but you either think the lead team is the board of directors or just leave it and don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's a moot point to me.
Mhm. And by the way, on the state, and he made mention it here, the statutory minimum is three directors. So on the state, that's why when Jamie, when you research it under DCCA, you see the moderators slash director, and you see the secretary slash director, and you see treasurer slash director. And for the purposes of, yeah,
Yeah, for the purpose of that.
yeah. The indemnification and protections.
Yeah, I think we should add those statements.
Yep. Yep.
They shall show up in the
But let me just tell you, not to
Mhm,
scare you, but they don't actually protect you
mhm.
unless they help you a little bit. Like I'm not sure. Do we have insurance as OBN?
We pay for an insurance, yes.
What does it include? Liability, like if one of us gets sued.
I'm not sure the details of the policy.
I think we should get the guy in who I don't know who we use. Like at the church we use State Farm,
Mm,
whatever. I don't know who we use, but I think we should ask them, and then we should add this to the to our bylaws.
mm,
And again, not to scare you, but because I coach at Kalani High School, they have now set legal precedent that if 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 something happens to like say a student,
mm,
that they can actually sue the individuals now, like the principal or the coach, like,
mm,
and they can go after their personal assets. So it's not just like they sue the school, like they can if they can actually go after and that's new, like that wasn't the case before, and now
mm,
they have legal precedent for that. So you know it makes it hard for coaches who are essentially volunteers to to do this, because if they get in trouble, and for us on the lead team, we're volunteers, so you're exposing yourself to risk, which is fine, we accept it, but I think something in there would be good.
We have a business owner policy, commercial liability policy. Again, I don't know the nature of those. Unemployment insurance as well back in 23 and 24.
I'm not an insurance expert. I would just have somebody call whoever
Mm,
our agent is and say, look, this is what we want to be able to add. We want to add protection, and for our uh, lead team members.
yeah.
Because, even like, do we have an umbrella policy that says like, if we have a OBN event somewhere and somebody gets hurt or worse, do we have an umbrella policy that, protects us in those cases? I don't know. I have no idea. I never even thought about it till just now.
Yeah.
So I would have, I would have a conversation with whoever our insurance agent is. And if we need to, at a future OBN meeting, um, we have our we have our agent come about once a year and talk to our stewardship and finance committee, and
Mm.
tells us like, hey, you're underinsured, or you're way overinsured, or and we ask questions like, what if we want to do this, or we want to do that, so we don't have to do it every year because we don't have buildings and all this other stuff. But I think it would be okay for to have some conversation with them.
Yes.
And
Well,
they are,
Mhm.
and I'm pretty sure whoever we have for OBN, I'm pretty sure they specialize in religious nonprofits. So that makes it even better.
Yeah, I think since the retirement of Lathrop, right? Lathrop Lee, um,
Yeah.
a lot of these conversations have stalled. I'd get a call from her once a year in their office. I haven't had that call lately.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Our guy is Ross Suha. I think he's our latest guy.
State
He
Farm.
may have, yeah, he's at State Farm.
Okay. All
But
right.
anyways,
We'll go ahead and I'll put that in our task to do list. Okay, but the clause for indemnification, you have a clause to add? Anything you'd like to suggest? Maybe copy and paste something.
yeah, so let's see, the phrasing we had here was they should not be held responsible. This is for our board for any debts or obligations of the church. The church shall indemnify the directors of any personal liability resulting from the good faith discharge of their duties as directors. So it's something like that. The church may also obtain directors and officers liability insurance in order to protect the directors from any economic loss incurred during blah, 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 blah. So that's our language.
Mm,
I think it's fine.
good.
And you can also say, instead of the church may, you can say the church shall. I mean, not the church, but OBN shall. When you write bylaws, there's the strongest statement is shall, and then the next is, could, and then there's may. So may lowers OBN's legal requirements to do it, but if it says they shall, then we shall. We will.
All right. That's the indemnification part. Then and Charlene, you got that, captured it, sort of, kind of, or you shall. You're unmute, unmute. I can't hear you.
I may.
You may. Okay.
You're gonna have to send me that Zoom
Oh, definitely.
recording.
Yes, yes. Okay. Modern meeting provisions. Oh, for the Zoom and anything else. Your take on that?
I don't even know what they mean by that. I don't know what the issue is.
He mentioned, I'm trying to read his paragraph here. If everyone signs, allowing decisions to be made without a physical meeting, explicitly states that meetings can occur via phone or Zoom.
Okay.
Yes, we just have to include that we consider Zoom meetings, well, under certain circumstances to be are allowed. I don't think we can have annual meetings by Zoom, but we can have, or special called meetings. But as far as OBN leadership team meetings, that's allowed, or
I don't understand the first part, the unanimous written consent. Anybody understand that part?
um, maybe that's the legal,
That's pointing to us. He
maybe
said that we're
that's the legal, that maybe that's the bar required to establish that virtual meetings are permitted.
Mm.
Or is that's not in ours, right? Did we say it requires unanimous consent?
No,
Yeah, I wonder where he got that from.
Because I know Robert's Rules of Order that, I haven't looked at the latest one, but the most recent one I looked at, all that it says is you you can have electronic meetings if there is either some provision in your bylaws that allows it, like carte blanche, or if you have some process for allowing it. So, of course, the strongest thing would just be to put in the bylaws and say you can have it.
yeah,
But if we want to kind of make it not, like, if we're still saying we prefer whenever possible to meet in person, then we can make it a little weaker by saying, these meetings, a meeting via Zoom or phone can occur, and then there's some threshold, like whatever, 75% or unanimous is a really high threshold. But if that's the problem with unanimous is, like, if everybody doesn't vote in writing.
Mm.
What do we say about, I'm trying to find my OBN draft. What do we say about the Zoom meetings? What is our actual language?
It, I can't find it. I'm reading under meetings, and all we have electronically there are the notifications sent to churches, not the actual meeting.
So if we don't have anything explicit in there, then we have to, let's see. There's so many versions. Let me just see if I ever put this in. Maybe it got taken out.
The PDF there, Matt, at 9:41 a.m. The link.
PDF at 941. Oh, I see.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was just looking at an older version. So this is the Constitution. Okay. And then under bylaws, covenant, blah, 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 meetings, special meetings. Yeah, it looks like we did not put anything in.
Mm.
Let me see if did we put anything in the Constitution? I wouldn't think we would.
Article 7 is only annual meeting.
Yeah, so we should put a we should put a statement in there that says, and we can say whatever we want it to say, but if we want the spirit of it to be that we meet in person whenever possible, we can make that general statement, like, you know, that we want to encourage in-person meetings. However, these will be allowed under whatever the the threshold is.
We
yeah,
say should we say electronic platforms?
Yeah, I mean, you say electronic means,
Me.
yeah, it's just a question of, so so we would need to probably, if we're going to do this, we probably shouldn't do it here. We should probably have somebody draft something because you
Mm.
have to put in there. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to protect the integrity of the process, right? Because we're a
Right.
deliberative body. So it has to be something like um, where they where we're saying like if you're going to do this, then the means that you connect with allows participation. So um so we couldn't say like, oh, we have quorum because we see enough to make quorum on the Zoom call, although Jamie's is frozen and I'm having trouble hearing or whatever, or I'm trying to speak and we're
Right.
not actually able to conduct business. So
Mm.
you would need somebody to draft something that includes all of that, so there's protection there. And then if we want to include in there, does it require um, do we just want to say we can always have a Zoom option, or do we want to say Zoom options for certain situations, like say for example the annual meeting? Like we don't want the annual meeting to be a Zoom thing
Mm.
unless at some point another crazy COVID thing happens and maybe we have to, but we don't really want it to be. We don't want people to be like, I'm not going to attend in person, because part of the annual meeting is us getting together.
Mm.
So um, there's that side. So if this would require, I think, somebody being careful to
Mm.
write out whatever needs to be written out to protect the integrity of the deliberative process, but at the same time allowing the means. And I don't know if you guys know, do you know why Robert's Rules of Order says 7 days notice for a meeting? It's because when Robert's Rules of Order was made, it was in the 1800s, and it was how long it would take for someone to ride on horseback to cover a certain. That's how much. So you had to have enough time for the notice to go out and then the person to come. So I mean, that's because it seems kind of artificial, right? 7 to 10 days. That seems kind of artificial, but that's the reason. And that's why now that we live in this electronic age, I'm not even sure we should have to, hold that threshold, but it's what's in Robert's Rules of Order. So
Gotcha.
if somebody wants to draft that, or Jamie, do you guys have language in your bylaws about electronic meetings? I can't remember
Uh,
if we put in ours.
it's a good question. Let me do a quick search, y'all.
Yeah, let me see if I can find ours real fast.
Mm.
Yeah, because you either have, if you don't put a carve out in there, then you actually have to vote on it every single time. Which
Yeah,
is why I think the annual meeting that HUBC had a few years ago was actually not
not
didn't
valid.
actually meet the yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I have a search feature on my PDF reader.
Yeah. Okay, we have one. It's page 20. I'm looking at our table of contents. So ours says whenever possible, in-person attendance at meeting is preferred, but in recognition that there may be circumstances which prevent an active member from attending in person, except as otherwise provided in these bylaws, meetings may be conducted through use of teleconference, internet, or other electronic transmission technology approved by the lead team in a manner that allows members the opportunity to read or hear the proceedings substantially, concurrently. That's key. The key word is concurrently with the occurrence of the proceedings, vote on matters submitted to members, pose questions, and make comments. And then the second part is about proxies. So that's our statement. Do you guys want something like that? I don't know if I can copy and paste this. Try.
Yeah. No, ours has absolutely nothing. It only says in writing, and we have deemed that email constitutes that rises to the level of in writing.
Mhm.
In terms of notification,
Yeah, that's what we
Uh,
did too.
but I think it still preserves the 30 days notice and such as that without speaking to the purpose for such things.
Yeah, let me send you our language, and you guys, if you guys like this, we can incorporate it. Hopefully it's not going to exceed the word limit.
And
I
I'm
just
just
send it to you.
looks like we've got about 20 minutes. I do have I got to step away at 11, so just
Okay.
I
Yeah,
got
me too.
22 minutes to go.
All right,
It's almost done, right?
yeah, we are actually. So we have that record in the chat room. So we'll, um, you all, Jamie and Matt, look over it again just to see what kind of final verbiage we can adopt for OBN on the area of modern meeting provision. Okay.
Yeah, so if you guys use that language, I would just say let's stick it in and then let's take a look at the entire document.
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. Just
Yeah.
stuff it right in there. I do like that point that the language that we use is not so much, preserving tradition or that's the way we've done it, but it should have, hopefully it should communicate the why. Why are we doing this?
Mm.
I like that.
Very good.
Yeah, so that allows members the opportunity to So
Mhm.
that's good.
Your
Yeah,
la- your last 2 points is record keeping and stating that we are to maintain a corporate record, including everything.
I don't know if he's saying we need to put that in the bylaws.
Mhm.
I think if it's required by the state, we don't need to. But the only reason to put it in is
Mhm.
so that we remind ourselves to do it, right? But otherwise, I don't see.
I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, maybe there's something that talks about, and again, my default is to maybe quote Romans 13 or something and say, because of the biblical mandate to comply with all legal conditions, under the supremacy of God's word, we, we commit ourselves in good faith to doing, including records and so on and so on. That
Right.
is probably not necessary.
Got it. Okay, dissolution clause.
Yeah, we probably definitely need. I mean, we definitely need that.
Okay.
So we do have language, do we not?
I don't remember. I
I
gotta
thought
go.
we did have, yeah, it's right at the very,
Oh, it's on Constitution, page 2,
yeah, it's in the
Article
Constitution.
13.
And I think that yes, there it is, dissolution. One of the questions does come back to if we are an independent 501(c) or not, because an independent 501(c) can only hand over its assets to another duly
Right.
registered 501(c) or to the government. And so that's probably not clear enough. They're like, from a legal standpoint, be like, well, who's HPBC? Like, is that just somebody's club that they run out of their garage? And so once we clarify the 501(c) question, that'll have bearing
Yeah.
on the language there.
Yeah. Okay.
Very good.
Mhm.
All right. What I'll do is I'll copy furnish you the recording and also the chat conversations. I'll also include some of these manuscripts that we have provided for you today. Our assignments, we have given assignments. Well, Miss Charlene, I hope you don't mind. The assignment is to incorporate other than let me see now, and we can incorporate also what has been put on the chat room depending on what we agreed on. Okay. Is there any assignments given to everyone other than this? Matt, do you have anything? Jamie, any have anything?
So I'm
Let's
gonna,
see.
I'll go ahead.
I was going to say, Bong, you're going to be calling the insurance company.
Yes, I have that on my list.
Okay. Yeah.
And also the pursuit of this 501c3. Okay. And then everything else will wait for a draft, Charlene, from you.
And do you want me to prepare a presentation about the pros and cons of 501(c) registration, both for the association and the local churches?
Yes, yes, a narrative that leads to that conversation. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think, yeah, our conversation was substantial. It begs to be visited, that issue. Okay.
Great.
Anything else for the Constitution bias? We very quickly to put in mind, we have is it an April meeting? And we have to decide whether that would be a time to, or it's just going to be, we can scratch that off and just do some other town hall meeting when these things are put together. So keep that in mind.
I don't see that we're going to be able to have a meaningful meeting. We might repurpose it for a fellowship and ministry training. We might repurpose it for prayer, but I don't think we're going to be able to make progress on our constitution bylaws by then.
Gotcha.
I mean, because again, 30 days, that's just
Yeah.
not going to happen. But
Yeah.
we could do something else of value, which there's many things that would be valuable. We just have to figure out what that might be and if it rises to the cost, the good costs of calling people together.
Okay.
Well, there were some points that looking at your church constitutions and whatnot, that may be helpful. Like talking about Zoom meetings, or let's see, there was something about the insurance. So, it just to educate the churches. I think it would be helpful.
Okay. Well, we'll pass that to this because
Yeah.
we'll pass that to our council and then let's see if we can keep, if not, redefine what we keep, and if not, reschedule. Sounds good. Okay. Let's close in prayer. Matt, could you close us in prayer?
Sure. God, we thank you for this time, and we just ask that you help us as we consider to look at these documents that are important, God, as we're not just thinking about the words, but the people and the network and the ministry in your kingdom work. So thank you for that. Thank you for each person who contributed their time and their talents to this. I ask that you bless the rest of their day as they continue to serve you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Quick question. Our OBN leadership team meeting is March 12th or 19th? 19th.
19th, Thursday.
All right. Thank you very much. All righty. Thank you, guys. Lots to think about, lots to work on.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you again, everyone. Blessings.